If you're an entrepreneur and your business is not yet registered, if you're looking to grow your registered business, or you're an accomplished professional. Our Elevate program supports you with access to finance, access to markets, access to capacity building. Sign up now or refer a friend at ecobank.com/elevate. Elevate by EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
Sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
It's been another eventful week in Gambian politics. The United Democratic Party, UDP, has formally withdrawn from the Coalition 2026 talks, casting fresh uncertainty over opposition efforts to unite ahead of December's presidential election. At the same time, President Barrow has secured the backing of Gambia Democratic Congress leader Mama Kande, a former political rival whose decision to support the incumbent marks one of the most significant political realignments in recent years. And beyond politics, concerns continue to mount over security, including reports of growing tensions in parts of the country's border region. So what do these developments tell us about the direction of our democracy? Are the political institutions we have becoming stronger or more fragmented? And how should the country respond to emerging security challenges while preserving peace and stability? Well, to help us unpack these issues for the next hour and a half, we're joined by senior UDP politician Lare. Lare, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Peter. Good morning to you, your listeners, and your staff. And let me just acknowledge something before we get into the issues. You know, the initiative to write about Edward Francis Small need to be applauded. And I want to congratulate Mahdi and his team, but I want to also acknowledge and recognize the efforts of Shola Mahoney, who's a good friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
And as well as Nana.
The author of the book.
The author of the book. These are the kinds of literary works that the country needs in order to capture the essence of our being. And we have a lot of great people who sacrificed everything for this country. But you don't hear about them. When they die is when we celebrate them.
Yeah. In fact, in a private conversation with Nana, I asked, what will it take, to have this book, in our curriculum?
Yes. That I was coming to that to say, this book and books like it ought to be the foundation of our curriculum, so that our children know that there are people who are selflessly serving this country until they died. And most of them didn't get a dime from it. It was true belief in nation, country, and community. And we need to.
And modern day, who would you liken him to?
Oh, I didn't see that one coming. Oliver Tambo.
Okay.
You see.
Let's look in country.
Well, in country it will be difficult.
Even your party leader?
I didn't want to go there because
people will see it as political.
People will say that's political. But I think if there is anybody who is writing the annals of the history of this country, you have to at least devote a chapter to Alhaji Hussein Darboe for his selfless service to the country. He said it on Monday during our prayer. He's been in the public eyes practicing law for 53 years, unblemished. And all the issues that we are dealing with character, integrity, and so, none of that stuck on him. So, as far as I'm concerned, he's in that league. UDP supporters call him the Mandela of the Gambia. I call him the Oliver Tambo of the Gambia.
Why are you so fascinated with Oliver? Why do you idolize Oliver Tambo?
Oliver was the brains behind the rise of the ANC in the 1930s, 40s. He was the brains behind, or the visionary behind the movement to say we have to start planning from being a revolutionary party to a ruling party. And the structures that Mandela used, Thabo Mbeki after Mandela, and to some extent Jacob Zuma, they consolidated what Oliver Tambo has conceived. Every time I go through OR Tambo in Joburg, there is a section there devoted to him. I always go there and spend a lot of time there.
Like a museum.
Like a museum, and his writings and thoughts are also available. But you know what? Even in South Africa, he's not featured in their curriculum. Mandela is better featured in their curriculum because of the nostalgia with him and all of that. But yes, Hussein is somebody who will feature, whether we like it or not, prominently in the annals of our political history.
All right.
So
that's a good way to warm up, huh?
Yeah.
Let's begin with the UDP's decision to withdraw from the Coalition 2026 talks. That's how it's being branded. How significant is this development, you'd say, in the context of the upcoming presidential election?
It is very significant. Nobody can downplay the fact that there is a need for some sort of a coalition to challenge President Barrow and defeat him in the December elections. Nobody is denying that fact. And nobody is also denying the fact that the more we get together, the political entities, the better it is our chances for defeating him. But coalitions for the sake of coalitions do not generally work that way. And we went into these coalition negotiations under circumstances that we have described as good faith negotiations from the beginning. When the decision was taken to go into the Apex negotiations, to go into the ADD negotiations, and all the other negotiations.
There are so many of them out there.
Yes, the underlying feature for UDP's position has always been, let's go in and negotiate in good faith. 1. 2, let's go in there and not be arrogant. Respect everybody, irrespective of their size or what they bring to the table, and conduct yourself in a way that represents what the United Democratic Party is. That's the spirit in which we went into these coalition talks. Now, you can go into negotiation with all the good intentions, but the way things panned out showed that key elements of negotiations were missing.
Okay.
And we raised these key issues from the very beginning.
Okay. Give us, more insights into how things panned out. What happened?
We pointed out that the foundational principles of the negotiations were flawed. And what are the foundational principles of the negotiations? Literally everybody in that room is equal. One entity, one vote. It doesn't matter how small, how big you are. And initially, it was numbers don't matter. And then in the middle of things, numbers matter, because those who are saying numbers don't matter ended up realizing that they need the numbers in the negotiations to lead. So all of a sudden, numbers don't matter turned into, yes, numbers matter. So that the foundational flaw was to open the conference room I was telling somebody jokingly the other day, so my wife, myself, my kids, and my nephews could literally walk into that conference room, and we call ourselves the Kudansi Sekundam movement. And we'll have the same votes and recognition as the UDP. Now, that strikes at the heart of negotiations. Negotiations are based on honesty, fairness, and integrity. And UDP went into these negotiations because our base was telling us, go and negotiate in good faith, be honest with your positions, have integrity in how you deal with the people you are negotiating with, and be fair. These negotiations lack those core fundamental principles.
So your base instructed you to do that. Did you abide by instructions?
Yes, as far as we are concerned, we comported ourselves very well. We didn't show any level of arrogance to anybody, rudeness to anybody. We speak with respect. We recognize people who speak with respect. We accept and recognize what they say, even in disagreement. So, as far as we are concerned, the fundamentals that we were looking for were there. We behaved accordingly. Now, let's look at it differently. In international diplomacy, you hear people say somebody is an ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary. Under international law, that meant that that guy has the power, the influence of a head of state, the head of state that appointed him and dispatched him to solve a problem. We were sort of plenipotentiaries, but, and I am stressing but, we did not show it. We were at the same level with everybody in that conference room. In fact, I have never worn a haftan in that conference. I wear a T-shirt and my usual pair of jeans.
So the haftan has now become a status symbol, has it?
Well, not for me. For me, I've been forced to start wearing haftans by my kids and my wife, so I'm wearing it. But the point is, I wanted to show that we are at the same level in that conference room. And so was Lamin Mane. We never disrespected anybody. We were never arrogant with anybody. We stuck to the issues. And we gave our point of view in terms of representing our party as best as we can in as professional a way as possible. Now, one last thing. When, for example, Hassan Martin was on Hilltop yesterday, when he said Lare and Lamin Mane misinformed Ousainou Darboe, he is patently wrong. Yes, we were charged to negotiate on behalf of Ousainou Darboe and UDP, but you know, Peter, we are professionals. I was the one who was attending the task force meetings. That is the group that is the brains behind the whole process. Okay. And when we decide on issues, we take it to the plenary. They call it the General Assembly on Saturdays, and I'm also there.
So you had plenaries every Saturday?
Every Saturday.
Okay.
And we had task force meetings every Wednesday for 14 weeks.
Wow.
14 weeks.
It was intense, eh?
It was very intense, time-consuming, and other things, expensive also. So when he says we deceived Ousainou, at that point I laughed. I laughed because he had no idea how closely, how extensively we consulted with Ousainou on every step of the way. We could have done this on our own, but we are not there for Lare Cisse, we are not there for Lamin Mane, we are not there for Ousainou Darboe. We are there for Ousainou Darboe and the leader of our party and our party. We represent them. All the farmers in Same, Nyamina, and the rest, we were representing them. And so comporting ourselves was of utmost importance to us. But more importantly, we did not want to take any decisions in those negotiations that was not briefed to us. Everything we said, everything we did, we cleared with the party leader. And the party leader also was constantly informing the members of the National Executive and the Central Committee. So, Hassan, you are wrong. We did not deceive Ousseynou Darboe. I've said in this show and many other shows, I don't want to deal with the personal issues. But he said that because he says we are not only deceiving Ousseynou, we are destroying UDP.
Oh.
And someone who is investing in UDP the way Lamin Mane and I do, both in terms of our time, our knowledge, and our resources, it's a great affront to us. But we accept his point of view and disagree vehemently with him. And we are not going to go personal with him on that. That's his point of view. It's a wrong point of view. And he's also wrong that we are misinforming Ousseynou, because Ousseynou was with us every step of the way. Let me tell you what we do. When we do the task force meetings on Wednesday, I would call Lamin. I said, well, this is what is coming on Saturday. These are the documents, the drafts. I will forward him the drafts. I'll forward the drafts to Koto Ousseynou, and I'll forward the draft to the secretary for our records. And then I'll say, I think we need to discuss A, B, C, D, E. We'll get into the car, go to see the party leader, either at the office or at home, whichever is convenient for him. We discussed those documents in details and took a principled position on each issue that was on the table. So consultations, yes. And I wish Koto Ousseynou would address this, but I wouldn't want him to, because we know that he's been in the loop on all the topics and decisions that we have taken. The party has been in the loop on all the decisions and actions that we have taken through him. So that is a non-starter. The other issue that Hilltop pressed Hassan on was to say, you told Lare and Lamin Mane that there is a Ousseynou Darboe factor.
Faction or factor?
Factor.
Okay.
The Ousseynou Darboe, I'm quoting, he described it as the Ousseynou Darboe factor.
Okay.
And
suggesting a position.
Yes.
Okay.
And we said, what do you mean? He says, well, if Ousseynou were to step aside and Lare was selected or Lamin was selected by UDP, it's game over.
Oh.
So that's when we told him, you know what, you are totally misreading us.
So the Ousseynou Darboe factor is in effect saying immovable.
Yes.
Ousseynou Darboe,
yes.
as far as,
yes. But the explanation he gave to Hilltop yesterday was that we misconstrued what he was saying. I've been in negotiations. Lamin has been in negotiations at some of the highest levels in all the countries that we have worked in. You don't misconstrue statements like that, especially from a mediator. That was when Lamin and I strategized to say, let's keep this to ourselves for now. If he decides to come out to play his agenda, because we knew he had an agenda, if he comes out to play that in full view, then we need to address it.
So you knew from day one he had an agenda?
We knew from day one.
That was inconsistent with maybe what you expected of, coalition leaders?
It was inconsistent with what anybody would call him or herself a mediator. You cannot be a mediator and openly advocate for something that you are mediating on. Hassan made statements in different places, and we say, in spite of all
during
of that...
the negotiations or prior to the negotiations?
Prior to the negotiations.
Okay. Yeah, because he serves as analyst,
yes.
Commentator
yes.
on different...
So we are aware of all of those things, and that's why we say, he's there.
Should you have accepted from the get-go? I mean, being aware of all those things?
Yes, I think we would have.
But you said here you gave him the benefit of the doubt.
We gave him the benefit of the doubt, and we went in there with very good faith to negotiate and come to a coalition of some sort.
All right. Still trying to understand how, things went on, during these, did you say what, 14 weeks of negotiation?
14 weeks of negotiations.
Wow, that's a long time.
If I miss Kudang. I can't go to my Kudang.
You should have moved parts of the, conversation
to Kudang. We have a nice lodge there.
So, how heated were debates? Because you're what? Parties and movements from what? 20 different, God knows what?
It was very passionate, let me put it that way, and sometimes heated, and understandably so, because you are trying to put at least 22 entities in one room, and each of them had a point of view. Each of them had a strategy, and each of them had an objective. Yeah. So how you...
And in the room, there are some they would like, others
exactly,
they
would not like. And so it was a good way of navigating through what I would describe as intensely different points of view, intensely different positions on how a coalition ought to be formed. Now, globally, we know globally, in a coalition, smaller parties tend to coalesce around the bigger party. That is the global best practice. And we keep giving them examples. Israel, Germany, France, UK, South Africa, I think it was Zambia, just to name a few. And we say, in all these countries, smaller parties tend to coalesce around the bigger party. It makes sense.
A lot of sense.
Now, what is so interesting for me in these 14 weeks is that we had people in that room who are defiantly against that principle. To say we are all equal here, no one is big enough, no one is small enough, let us all come together and select somebody, in spite of your size. And we went along with it until we reached a point where the framework was agreed. The governing, they call it the power sharing framework, was done. And then the governing council document was circulated. We commented on all of these things. And we said, from the onset, UDP's position on coalitions is to say, we will negotiate in good faith, we'll make compromises, but there is one compromise that we will not make, and that is any byproduct of these coalitions must be compliant with the Constitution. If UDP didn't take that position, we as negotiators would have taken it. Because we are a party that respects the rule of law. You cannot...
And by constitution, you mean the
Constitution of the Gambia.
Okay.
The existing constitution. Until we have another one, we are saying whatever we come up with has to be compliant with that constitution. And as far as we are concerned, the governing council is not compliant with the constitution because you are creating a group of people who literally will tell the coalition president, this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do. If the president says no, what are you going to do? Because if you take him to court, the Constitution is on his side. The Constitution has a specific section in it which deals with the powers and appointive powers and prerogatives of the president. So you create instability instantly. And then the other issue, the advisory council. Now, when they say those are guardrails, yes, they are guardrails on paper, but they have not worked anywhere in the world that we know of. And some of us have been involved in some of the most intricate coalition talks there is. As we are talking, I am doing some consultant work for at least 3 different countries, which I put on hold. I won't name them. But I was part and parcel of the coalition negotiations that brought the government of national unity in Zimbabwe after the 2008 elections. So the principles are clear. Smaller parties coalesce around the bigger party, and you go out and campaign on a platform that is designed by the coalition. We agreed with all of those things. To say, even if we led the coalition, it is not going to be a UDP program. It will be a program for the coalition because the coalition would have done a manifesto. And we actually said, let us do the manifesto before we even talk about power sharing. But you know something? We shifted it around several times. Eventually, power sharing keeps coming up. Power sharing keeps coming up. And Lamin and I decided, let's go with it and see. Because at the end of the day, that's where all the, that's where all the interests will manifest themselves. And once that happened, we knew exactly what we are dealing with. And what we are dealing with a group of people who have very good intentions for this country. They want the country to move in a certain direction. But they are unwilling to accept the simple fact that UDP is the biggest political party in the room. UDP has the most sophisticated grassroots national presence in the room. Any coalition that was built without UDP around it is going to find it very difficult to break into some of those areas that people around the table don't even know. Some of those people in that room cannot go navigate beyond Brikama.
Seriously?
I am sorry to say, and no disrespect meant.
Isn't that required of any political party that wants to contest elections here, that you have to have a presence in all, regions, districts, and whatever?
Yeah, you are talking political parties.
Okay, so... okay.
You are talking political parties.
This is with regard to the movements.
The movements and
alliances.
And alliances, Okay. So I'm saying, if we defy logic, logic that has been the fixture of coalition politics around the world in different countries, different jurisdictions, if Gambia can defy that, then we can defy anything. Because we are basically saying, what I want is what goes, or nothing goes. Never mind, even next door Senegal, we are seeing what is happening there. And that brings me to that is the one entity, one vote plank of the negotiation.
Okay.
The candidate-led, party-led also fits into that.
Okay.
UDP from the onset says we want we want party-led.
Party-led, yes.
Yes. UDP was consistent. We want party-led.
Yeah, one party leads, the others see where there are alignments,
yes.
And you join.
And we join.
Or decide not to join.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was our position.
And candidate-led is?
Candidate-led, they're basically saying, let's replay 2016. We select somebody, he's the candidate of the coalition, he resigns from his party, and contest the election as an independent.
Yeah, but how do you select that somebody?
That's the governance framework. Yeah. That's where they were saying.
Because I understand in 2016, it was generally agreed that whoever was going to be the candidate of this coalition, if they did not come from the UDP, meaning the UDP was always consistent, we cannot be biggest in the room and then be equal when it comes to decision-making
and all of that, yes.
So because this is what you understand, they all understood that.
Yes.
The only chance of having one common candidate is if this candidate came from the UDP. And of course, at the time then, say Darboe and the others, Amadou Sane.
But they all applied.
Yeah.
And Barrow was selected.
Yeah.
We are saying, given Barrow's history, and the outcome of that 2016 election.
And when you say given Barrow's history, what do you mean?
Well, I think you are asking a rhetorical question.
No, that's my job, is to ask questions. I mean, a question is never...
For me, it's a rhetorical question. What I meant was,
yes.
Barrow was selected by the coalition in a convention. He resigned from UDP, and these guardrails that they are talking about were not there.
True.
And he became president. 18 months later, he fired his coalition partners and started the Barrow Fans Club. Barrow Fans Club morphed into Barrow Movement. Barrow Movement morphed into the NPP. That's why we are saying this candidate-led thing.
But he tried to come back to the UDP, didn't he?
Well, yes. I'm not aware of any of those things, but we hear, attempts were made.
Didn't he?
When
he asked to be, the party's flag bearer in the next election, it only follows that you don't have a president, somebody who is a president already, and then in the next presidential election they cannot seek re-election?
No, if he said that, I'm not aware of it. I honestly am not aware of it. But if he said that, the answer would be no. If you want to lead a UDP candidate,
the answer was a definite no, and that's what gave rise to the creation of the NPP.
I'm not privy to those discussions. But if those discussions happened, and that was the proposition he made, the answer, UDP would have said no. We have a process that you are aware of, that you are part of.
And UDP spoke to him in those very same terms that you're saying now.
All right. So, you see, I'm not in the room, but the UDP's principles are very clear. So, we are saying, if you look at that, and you look at what is panning out in Senegal, you definitely want a coalition arrangement that exudes stability, that can be relied on the rule of law, not the whims and caprices of one individual. And that is what fed us into this party-led coalition.